2 tangos up ahead. I think we got him. 1 tap, baby. What's up, Harsh Army? Today I'm bringing you a complete beginner's guide, especially with the new wipe being announced May 1st. Right around the corner, actually. I skipped eating a healthy breakfast. I threw in a slab of pizza and I got to work. So here we are. There's gonna be timestamps for every subject that we're going over. It's gonna be a complete A to Z of everything you need to know, everything that is important, and we're not putting in the stuff that's not important. If you felt like I left something out, please let me know in the comments down below so we can all learn from it. But let's dive straight in. There are a couple settings that are important, and I wouldn't get too lost in the sauce on what those settings are. So I'm just gonna go ahead and scroll through mine so you can check those out, and you can make yours the same as mine, or you don't have to. It's whatever you like. But there are a couple settings in there, for example, like how you hold the gun, where your wrists are naturally canted in a certain direction, so that way when you pull the gun up to your face, it's already where you need it to be. You don't have to manipulate your hand up or down like this, which is the hand pitch rotation, I believe. So let's check that out. So here are my settings. Whenever you calibrate your height, you want to make sure you're calibrated as seated, even if you're standing, and that's because whenever you go to hit crouch, which is the left thumbstick, while you're standing, you don't have to actually physically bend down, which is important. So going back to the settings, here's what I use. I don't use a gun stock. I don't use a virtual gun stock. You can use the compass if you want. It doesn't show up on the screen for you guys viewing it, but you can use it. It helps you navigate to the extracts whenever they pop up, but it does take up a portion of your screen. I use arms only. If I use body, then it gets kind of wonky. It looks like I'm crouching all the time, so I don't use that. Hand pitch rotation is what I was talking about, where it moves your hand up and down. That is important. And then all this other stuff you can keep as I have it. So when you put up the start menu, you have a tutorial room where it shows you the basics if you want to learn how to shoot certain guns, just like the bare minimums. But if you want to check it out, you can. Now the Tabor Market's where you're going to find all of your items. Now you are going to have a watch that tells you how your person's doing. You have a food bar, a water bar, an energy bar, and a weight bar. The weight affects how fast your energy drains, as well as your food and water, and then your health bar is the red bar you can see here. So if you're about to die, you'll hear a heartbeat, as well as you'll see this go down. If you want to navigate between the watch, you simply just tap it in raid, and it'll switch screens between the compass, as well as how much raid time is left. Alright, so when you first load into the game, you're going to be brought to your hideout, or your bunker rather. So we're going to go over a couple things inside the bunker to start off the video, and then we'll move into more of the in-detail stuff. So moving on to the power room, which is going to be up there where I have the door open. When you first spawn in, your bunker is going to look like this. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to go up here. There's going to be a gas can next to your generator. We're going to grab that gas can, pull the cap off, pull this cap off, pour that bad boy in there, and we're going to hit this button. Now, one gas can lasts approximately 18 to 24 hours depending on what level your generator is, and you want to keep the empty gas can when it's done to sell it, because it sells for almost half of what you buy it for, so you're pretty much getting it half off by selling it. So let's start with this monitor that we're brought to as soon as we spawn in. It's going to bring you to this. And what you're going to find here is your notifications, notification bell, missions. So this is where we level up our reputation with certain traders that allow us to buy better items and get more items. There's multiple traders, as you can see here at the time of this recording. Only 3 of them are important. Those 3 are going to be Jiri, which sells your bunker resource, food, water, and medicine. Minty, which is going to sell your armor, backpacks, and your rigs. Spectre, which is going to be your ammo. He also sells armor piercing rounds, all the ammo that you need to make your own ammo, which is very important down the road. So getting him to level 3 is very important. Inspector is going to be where you buy your guns, your magazines, and attachments. Things like suppressors, sights, rails, lasers, flashlights. And the way you level up these specific traders is you go in here and you click on them, and you can see down here is the reputation gain if you do this specific mission. At this time, you can only have 5 active missions. I did a whole in-depth guide on all of these traders. If you want to check those out, I'll put the pictures here so you can see them and you can check those out. Here's a snapshot of what I like to do for mine. And whenever I'm trying to get Jiri to level 3, I'll actually take this one off and I'll select kill 25 NPC and 25 players, which gives me 8300 XP because I'm going to be doing player missions anyways. And then in here's where you can add your friends, and the play screen is where you can access the maps and the raids that you want to go into. The maps. What maps are good for what? So let's just start from the top, go to Matka Underground. Matka Underground is going to be really great for those missions where you have to kill Phoenix, which are the AIs. AI spawn abundantly currently in this map, and you can get easily 20 to 25 kills per match. There's also the old underground bunker. When the game first came out, they implemented it into the underground map, which is pretty cool. And you can find a lot of high tier loot there. There's a lot of vaults that you need key cards to access. These key cards look like this: purple, orange, and green. Green is found from the collector, which is the boss. Orange and purple can be found randomly throughout the map, but there are certain spawn points for those, which can be found in Island of Tabor and your vault rooms. And so Matka Underground is great because it has all the vaults that you need, as well as it has a graphics card spawn. And for those who don't know, graphics card is a high tier loot item which you can sell to make a lot of money, or you can implement it into your intel room, which allows you to generate money while you're away from the game. Matka Underground, because of the old bunker that has all the high tier loot, there's a good strong PvP center right there. You can just camp out, which everybody does, and you can get a lot of player kills. Not my favorite map, but it's not a terrible one. Matka Mies is the best map in my opinion for PvP and loot. And whenever I say for loot, things like better armor, better weapons, and geared players. There's a lot of PvP going on because the collector, which is the boss that spawns there, he's the newest boss. He drops that green key card as well as the weapon that you saw in the intro. He drops this beautiful armor here, which is the highest tier armor, and he drops this beautiful LMG. That is the only way to get those pieces of items, and that's why everybody goes there. Even though he has a 5% spawn chance, everybody rushes Matka. And for that reason, it's a great PvP map. It has really good loot as well, like I said, from getting and looting other players. So if you want to get better in that aspect, you can go to that map and you get a really good experience doing that. Missile Silo, this is going to be the OG map. So if you want strict PvP or a Rags to Riches raid, you can get a lot of loot in this raid. Streamer items, which are selling for 20 grand a piece. A lot of money can be made from Silo just doing Rags to Riches. You can also get a lot of player kills. You can get a lot of Phoenix kills, but you have to wait some time and they don't spawn as abundantly as Matka Underground, and it's a very tiny map. Very easy to learn, and it's just one of the original maps that's really fun to play. Island of Tabor is where you're going to find all your high tier loot, such as the key cards. You have the purple room, the orange key card room, which all has high tier loot, such as graphics cards, electronics, things that sell for a lot of money, and high tier weapons. Island of Tabor is another OG map where a lot of new players go to learn. It's very extract friendly, which means there's a lot of extracts and you can avoid a lot of players by going to those extracts, versus Matka Underground, which is very condensed. As you're in a subway underground, it's very tight and it can run across players very easily. So it's not very new player friendly in my opinion. So if you were starting out, I would say Island Tabor, Missile Silo, or Matka if you're feeling a little bit more confident. Up here is going to be your name as well as your player level. Player levels are important because that is how you level up certain items inside of your bunker, which allow you to do certain upgrades. So let's move on to the rooms that are inside the bunker. This one's going to be your trade room, right next to this whiteboard. The kids only like to draw dicks on. Inside the trade rooms where you're going to find a lot of your starting items when you start out in the game. You can also store some weapons on the wall here as well as your armor on the dummy. When you want to sell your items, you can go in here, place the item on this conveyor belt, and it'll bring up the amount of money that the traders will give you per item. So obviously you want to pick the highest tier item at this time. Don't ever click this button unless you want to get screwed. Absolutely screwed. If you want to return that item because you accidentally put it on there, go ahead and return, and it will pop up into your kiosk. Your kiosk displays all the items that you have available to pull and receive. Just click receive and it'll give you all the items that you have in there. You can also favorite items inside of the store, things like your custom loadouts, items, weapons, magazines, medicine, meds, things like that. So that way you don't have to keep going back and forth to the store to buy them. You can favorite them at the store and then you'll have them in your kiosk. You can at this time only favorite certain amounts, so just be cautious of that. And then they give you daily rations to help you out in case you're absolutely dead broke. And they have 6-hour daily and weekly rotations, weekly rations. You have some storage shelves. Anywhere that shows these little borders around the shelf is where you can securely store the items. If you happen to just drop the item on the floor and leave for a raid or go to the store, your item will show up in your items here at the kiosk, but it can be annoying. So you want to make sure that you place items inside of the shelves inside that safe zone so they stay there. And then here you have a trash can in case you want to get rid of an item. Let's say it's not worth anything, or you eat a can of food. Just simply drop the item and it'll delete. So that way it doesn't keep appearing inside of your kiosk. Now let's move on to the Armory. The Armory has multiple rooms. Again, leveling up your character is how you gain access to these extra storage rooms so you can have more walls, more backpack space, things of that nature. Speaking of backpack space, you can use these little hangers. You place your backpack here and you can store your backpacks on the wall. These dummies are for armor, as you can see. You can place your armor on there. Weapons wall, same as the kiosk room, more storage space. And then you have a bigger weapons wall here where you can store all your items that you like to keep. At the beginning of the game, you're going to have a ton of items that you may or may not want. You can decide to sell those or you can get rid of them. And here are your storage lockers where you can store armor and helmets. To place the armor in there, you simply just go like this and your armor will be stored. More backpack space. And then this is more of a, you can do whatever you want really, but this is where I have my reloading station. And as you can see here, this is the reloader. So let's talk about the reloader. The reloader is how we load up magazines for our weapons. We can buy full mags from the traders, but these are going to be full metal jacket or FMJ mags, which are your standard rounds. At some point when you get to Jiri level 3, you can unlock armor piercing rounds, which are huge because armor piercing rounds do more damage, obviously. And the way this works is just like this. So you find a magazine, put it in your hand, put it in the reloader. You can also move the reloader up and down for your convenience by hitting the grip button. And hitting trigger, you just place the mag into there and you hit load once you put some ammunition inside. So what that looks like is just like this. So you slide that box out, press trigger, it'll drop it into there. Once your mag's loaded, you can move on to the next one, and it'll even tell you if you don't have any ammo in there already. If you're curious as to what type of ammo you have, maybe you found the magazine in raid, you can place that magazine in here and it will tell you. So let me go ahead and show you that. If you have a half empty box or an empty box, you can store your leftover ammunition inside of there, like so, and now it'll all be in there. So let's check out the LMG ammo. Let's plug that in there. So it tells us that 6.8 by 51. So that's the ammo that we know we have to create to fill that magazine. Now the reloader is pretty simple. You have a station for powder and brass. So your powder will go in here, which is your armor piercing powder or any other powder that you have. You simply unscrew the cap, place it in there, and whenever it's done, you can simply throw that away. And then you put your brass, which will look like this, directly inside the brass, or you can just dump the container like that. And then you'll select the caliber that you want. So let's do the 6x8, 6.851, and then we're going to do standard because we put standard, we have standard powder in there. We select the quantity that we want. So however many brass is how many boxes you can make. You can make 6 boxes from one whole thing of powder, so just keep that in mind. So now I've made more ammunition. Place that in there. So hit load, and that mag is already full. To reload that, you simply just hit load, and now you can store your ammunition up on the shelf however you like. So that is how you use the reloader. Moving on to the storage, this is just extra shelving. Whenever you spawn and wipe, your meds will be here, the meds that they give you, so just keep that in mind. And this is really just storage space. I almost never use this. Your med block, this is where you create meds. You can create meds from growing your farm. Up top there, which we'll talk about in a second, but you'll place your little hamburger patties in there, or your weed patties. You hit the start button and it'll generate the amount of meds that your level determines, because whatever your level is at the trader as far as upgrading your bunker determines how many meds you get per patty. And to show you what that looks like, so this is your little patty you get from the farm. You place that in here. So once it says ready, you hit power and it will make your meds. The way that meds work is you simply place it into your arm, you hold it there until your health is full. On your watch, you'll see a health bar, a water bar, a food bar, energy bar, and a weight bar. So I'm gonna leave those there for now. Moving on, we have the kitchen and the maintenance room. I haven't actually unlocked the maintenance room. I don't think you can unlock it right now, so that's still a mystery. But the kitchen is where you can refill your water bottles. Here at the water station, you have a water filter such as this. You'll spawn with a couple items in the game whenever you hit wipe. This is where your food items are stored. You put your water filters in here. Simply plug the water filter there. Water bottles underneath, so you can refill your water bottles. Certain water bottles are better than others. I have a whole video on that, on how to use your nursery to maximize your efficiency. So feel free to check that out. I'll place that on the screen right now. So that is the whole downstairs of the bunker. Moving on upstairs, we're going to talk about the farm. As you can see, my farm's kind of hurting right now because I haven't watered my plants. But essentially, you have these packets of seeds that you can buy from the trader, which we'll check out later. You place the seed inside of the farm, and it will eventually grow into these little plants that you can harvest to make those hamburger patties, to make your meds, because meds are extremely hard to find. This is the fully upgraded nursery. When you first start out, I believe you only get 1 or 2 stations, so you won't get all these right at the beginning. To fill your water, you simply bring the water bottles up here, place it in this container, and this little meter will fill up. It takes a lot of water to fill this thing up, and if you want the most efficient way to do that, again, I'll put that video up here and you can check that out. Moving on to the range, this is where we can practice shooting. I almost never use this, but if you do, you shoot some of the targets, you hit this reset button and it'll reset all your targets. The ammo that you spend in here is not used. Moving on to the intel room, this is where you can generate money, like I was saying before, by plugging in the graphics cards that you find in raid. Depending on the level of intel room you have determines how much money you make per graphics card. As you can see, there's a lot of different slots. There's 6 per rack, so 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36 times 2 would be 64 coronas per minute, which can add up pretty quickly. So these are super important to extract with if you find them in raid. Now remember, the garden as well as the intel room have to have fuel in order for them to work. If they have no fuel, they will not work. And in here is going to be your vault. The time of this recording, the vault doesn't have too much going on with it. They have a never wipe room, which I don't know if they're going to implement this wipe, but I'm assuming it's an item, or you pick 1 or a couple items to put in there, so the next wipe you get to keep it. Not sure what that's going to be, but inside here is what's important. Inside the barracks, you're going to have some extra armor as well as some backpacks that you probably didn't know about that are going to be stored in here. And then you also have this, which is just their VR award. And what you do with this is you simply go in here. See, they're funny, you can't even delete it. So when you spawn into the market, this is where you'll end up. Again, there's only 3 traders you have to worry about. These 2 are not it. Minty Tactical is where you're going to buy your weapon, or your armor and your rigs and the attachments for those. So chest rigs, helmets, backpacks, and then you can also buy ammo pouches. Merchant of Death is pretty cool. So if you have any wipe items like the Founding Fathers, AK Alpha, or any of the DLC, you can buy those items here. Specters, where we're going to find our guns and accessories. You can navigate between the type of guns. So you have bolt action, handgun, light machine gun, shotgun, sniper rifle, submachine guns. Gun attachments, where are all the things I mentioned earlier, such as grips, lasers. And as you level up, you'll notice that there's certain items that you can't buy until you get that required level. So what you have to do is wait till you level up, and then you can access those items. I just did a whole in-depth guide and got a ton of positive feedback from you all on Spectre specifically, and I'll put that link in the description down below. The question I get asked a lot is, Harsh, how do I buy magazines or ammo for my guns when I'm starting out? You can reload them like I showed you earlier, or you can buy them loaded with that FMJ ammo, which is the red tipped. Armor piercing's black tipped and tracers are yellow tipped. So these are going to be your standard ammunition. It's not going to be terrible, but it's not going to be the best. And the different classes of the magazines that you're needing for your gun. So if you just want to scroll through these and you can get familiar with them, so if you find them in raid, you're like, oh, I can take that out with me, that's a good idea. But if you want to buy the mags loaded because you want to use this standard ammo, you can keep this checkbox where it says loaded magazine check, and that will be a loaded mag when you buy it. And you can also favorite it by scanning the item with this on your pistol. It'll be in your pistol holster. And then what you'll do is you'll scan the item with trigger. It'll pop up in the checkout. And then from there you can favorite it like I mentioned earlier and buy the item. You can also add insurance, which means when you click on this little arrow, if you die and nobody loots it, you can get that back. Costs a little bit extra, but it might be worth it when you're first starting. Now, if you're reloading the magazines yourself, let's say you're putting armor piercing in it, then it's a good idea to keep these unchecked. It'll save you a little bit of money, as well as it'll allow you to not have to empty the mag inside the bunker to fill it up. You can buy melee weapons here, which don't really do, and then you can buy also your flashbangs, grenades, and smokes. And so what this will do is it'll give you an idea of what things are selling for, so what items or weapons you should be picking up in raid and which ones cost the most. So you can come back and sell them for more money, or if they're really good. When you're starting out, I highly recommend you use a gun that uses 5.56 45 because the magazines can be found everywhere. These magazines are pretty common and you can fill them up pretty easily. Moving on to Merrick. So Merrick's going to be where you can upgrade your bunker. Remember, you have to be a certain player level to be able to upgrade your rooms to do certain things. For example, I'm level 30, so I can't get a lot of these things until I'm 32, 38, and 36. So the Intel level 4, I believe, gives you 2.5 or 3 coronas per minute with the graphics card versus 2. The Armory level 3 is where I unlock that extra room in the Armory. Maintenance level 1, I believe it's just a storage room for all your maintenance items. Medical station level 3, that's where you can get 4 meds per 1 hamburger patty that you saw instead of 3. So you have to be level 33 to do that. Intel station is where you can get an extra rack to put more graphics cards on. These things do cost money, so keep that in mind, but this is where you'll do all your bunker upgrades. And then here, Jiri, which is going to be the third important trader, is where you're going to be able to buy the armor piercing powders as well as your reloading materials. Now you won't be able to buy these items until you're level 3. This item I believe until you're level 2, and then these 2 you can buy at level 1. I could be wrong on these 3, but these 2 you definitely have to be level 3. Bunker resources, so if you need to buy those seeds for your garden, you can buy them here. The water filters, gas cans, and currently this does nothing, so I wouldn't even buy it. Consumables, this is where you can buy water bottles, so if you don't want to have to find them in raid to fill up your farm, you can buy them here. You won't unlock this until level 3, and this is huge because these 2 are going to be the most important to keep in your hideout. If you find these in raid, definitely extract with them because they hold the most water, which means less trips up and down the stairs to fill up your tank. Eatable, what's important to know here is the tangerine cans. These will give you food and water. If you eat anything that if you eat anything that doesn't give you water, such as cat food, fillets, muesli bar, goulash can, fish curry, it takes your water as you eat it. So you got to be sure to make sure that you eat first and then drink later. There's a second page as well. As you get leveled up, you can unlock things such as the peach can, which is the best. It gives you the most food and water, as well as the fruit cocktail, which you can buy from the lady at level 2 trader at the very beginning, the med lady. One-shot sticks, the reason why these are so important is you can eat them in raid and they'll refill your energy bar almost immediately with like 2 to 3 little things. So these are really good for filling your energy because as you bring in better gear and better armor, you become heavier and you run out of the energy faster. And if you're out of energy and somebody's shooting at you, you're going to be dead meat. So having these is crucial whenever you unlock them or find them in raid. And then medicine, again, Jiri's kind of the all-in-one trader. So getting him to level 3 is pretty important. But you can buy your meds here. They're very expensive and you can make them yourself. So if you find them in raid or if you have the opportunity to make them, you should be doing that. So what should we be doing whenever we first get started in wipe? Well, we should be organizing our hideout first and foremost. We should be organizing our bunker to the way we need it so that we can get in and out of raids efficiently and fast. And then the second thing is we should be learning the maps, where the things spawn. And that could all change when the wipe happens. That's why I'm not going in detail of those items right now. But just knowing what is valuable, if it looks valuable in the real world, such as power banks, cell phones, graphics cards, things like that, if they look interesting, they're probably worth a lot of money. Things like nails, junk, speed charger, not going to be worth a whole lot of money. So just keep that common sense principle whenever you're looting. But it is important to loot everything you can fit into your backpack, but to remember to prioritize the higher value items. But if you can take everything out that you find, take it out, because you get experience for your player for every little item that you bring out of the raid. You get experience for things that you drink, things you eat, for how far you've walked, if you've used your meds, if you've killed a player, killed an AI, if you've extracted with loot. Different types of loot equals different types of experience. The more valuable it is, the more experience you get. So to maximize your experience and your leveling up, you can extract with as much stuff as you can. Basically doing as much as you can in raid gets you the most XP. So you should be running island or missile silo, in my opinion, when you're starting out. Missile silo is a great map where you can go in with nothing and find a bunch of weapons. Find a bunch of weapons, armor, items, money. You find all kinds of stuff in there. Island of Tabor, it's a really big map. You can find a lot of high tier loot, but just remember, it's probably one of the most common, if not most popular map on the game. And so I would just be cautious of that. Now, to put armor on and off, all you have to do is press the grip and the trigger at the same time on the item that you want to pull off. So grip and trigger, and I can pull that helmet off. Same thing with the visor. I can press trigger to move that up or down. So let's take that off so you guys can see. And then if you want to take off your vest, you just put it on your shoulder, grip and trigger. Sometimes it doesn't work right away, and you can pull that off. And the way why that's important is because you can take these modules, move them up and down, and adjust them as you need to. And if you find more in raid, you can add them to your armor. Certain backpacks allow you to do certain things. This G4 backpack is really good. It's probably one of my favorites, even over the Ragnarok, because this one allows you to store this weapon on the back without taking up backpack space. The Ragnarok, you can store like 5 weapons if you're really good, but it can be cumbersome. You can be found very easily because the backpack's so big and it silhouettes you pretty easily. But this is probably the ultimate backpack in my opinion. Take your backpack on and off. Don't use grip and trigger like you would to take your armor off. You simply just press grip, and that's how you take your backpack on and off. So if you're looting items, whatever you're doing, you can put that on there, loot the item right, put it on the ground, put it in there, and then what you're going to do is you're going to hold the item inside, and if you see red, that means it's not going to go in. But if you don't see red, most times it stays. To give you an idea of the Ragnarok versus the G4, that's what that looks like. So if you find one of these for filling up your farm specifically, I recommend keeping it in your hideout, because this makes traveling up and down the stairs so much easier, so you make less trips. And then the tiniest backpack, which most of you will probably have, is going to look like this. I put little ammo pouches in there, so if I find drum mags, because you can't buy drum mags until you're level 5 Spectre, which is really high up there. If you find them, they're really valuable for you to keep to put ammo into, so you can put them in these little pouches, and I'll show you why that's important. Let's say we have this big drum mag. We can't fit this in here normally, so what we do is we just put it on there and let go. It just takes up very little space. And so we can store these drum mags in our backpacks without taking up too much space. So it's good to have maybe 1 or 2 in there in case you find those drum mags, if this is the smallest backpack you're using. Even if you're using the mid-size adventure backpack, you can still do the same thing. Around the map, there's going to be loot boxes that you can loot up, as well as just loose loot on the ground and the tables. To open them, if you want to make sure you can open an item, you just go up to the containers and open it such as that. You just grab it and open it up. There's different containers with different things. Like that one has usually a lot of attachments for guns, sights, lasers, things like that. This one can hold guns, attachments. It can really have just about anything. This one is for armor, typically. Yep, so we found some level 2 armor in there. There's also medical containers like this on the wall where you can open them up, and that's actually a very rare find. You can put that bad boy into your backpack. Sometimes there'll be loose weapons on the tables, things like that. Every time you pick up a weapon, it's going to have a full mag. You just need to rack it back, and now you're ready to go. But just to double check, you can shake the mag. It'll tell you by vibrations how full it is. If it's 3 vibrations, it is 66% or more, I believe. If it's 2, it's 33 to 66%, and then 1 shake is less than 33%. Here's an example of a room that has multiple loot crates, such as this one. This one typically has backpacks in it. There you go, there's a small backpack. These typically have food. They can have rare items. Every box, I believe, has a chance to spawn rare items. This one's got a gun, spark plug, which isn't really worth much right now. These typically have grenades or handguns. There's a mag there. Oh, a grenade. Now, these vending machines will have water and food in them typically. You just shoot them out. For food, you just simply grab the top and just eat it. File cabinets, the ones that have all the drawers closed, are the ones you can loot. Simply pull them out. File cabinets, in my experience, have pretty good loot in them typically. So there's a grip, things like that. There's a med item, so that's a bandage. So this right here is a digital wallet, and that can have any amount of money on it, which is really good. So it's always good to take those with you. All right, so vault rooms are pretty cool. That's where the high tier loot is. Orange key cards are actually extra extracts that you can use outside the normal extracts, and it can give you an advantage because they're typically in a location that's far away from enemies, and you can not only get high tier loot, but you can extract right there. So let's show you an example of the orange, and then I'll show you the purple key card room. To use the key card, you just find the matching color that's on the door, simply slide it in, an alarm will go off that people can hear, and we can go in here and we can loot. See, that's very unlucky. We didn't get any loot there. That radio is not in because right now the raid still hasn't finished, or started rather, and whenever you spawn in, you have a certain amount of time before you can extract, before extracts open up. Now for the purple key card, it obviously has a purple marking on it. Same thing. Both of these vault rooms are on Island of Tabor. So as you can see, the purple rooms typically have a lot more loot, a lot better loot. So this is the Ultim. This is a really good helmet. Same thing with the vest. This is one of the best vests you can get in the game. So you definitely want to take that with you. SSD is pretty good. We just got a vector. To put sights on the guns, you simply find the rail, place it on low, and then you can let go and it'll stay on there. If you ever want to move it or change it, you just simply press grip plus trigger, which shows you right there, and pull away from it. Sometimes it's a little wonky, but you just simply slide it, and then when you're ready, you let go. So this came with a drum mag, which is huge. And the way suppressors work is kind of the same way. You simply press grip plus trigger. Sometimes it's a little wonky, but you have to screw it on like a real suppressor. So to put a suppressor on, you simply screw it on, and you'll be good to go. And whenever it's done, it'll click. Wow, we found 2 vectors and some armor-piercing powder. Currently, these canted grips are the best in the game, but they're a little bit tricky when you put them on. So whenever you put them on, if you click the trigger button on the hand that's putting it on, like that, it can switch the side. So if you're left-handed, you're good to go. And a little pro tip is you can use your guns that you find in raid as a means to hold on to the pieces of equipment so you take up less space in your backpack. Alright, so let's say that we are injured right now. We are down in our health. In order to heal, we simply stick it in our arm, we hold it, and as you can see, it'll continuously heal, but if we take that away, it will stop healing. It will do half of a watch for every med. Now let's see if we can't get ourselves to bleed. Can't seem to get us to bleed, so that's cool. Alright, pro tip, if you're reloading, there's a tactical reload that you can do. It's called Magpalming. So let's say that you're shooting and you only use half a mag, or you didn't use a whole mag, but we know we're going into an engagement where there might be multiple tangos. And so what we need to do is we need to make sure we have a fresh mag so we're fresh to go. So what we can do is we can take that new mag, new mag, because you can't Magpalm a big one. So you take that new mag in your hand like your standard grip with this trigger button, and then you use the other grip to grab the old mag, simply rotate the mag, plug it in, put this old mag into your pouch, So you have that for later for emergencies, but now you're ready to go with a fresh mag. So let's say we're taking out an enemy. They're behind that wall right there. We peek them, pop a couple shots. Oh, we actually ran out. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit B, plug in a new mag, hit B again, and that slides the bolt forward so you don't have to do anything special. But let's say we're popping off a couple shots. Awesome. We killed them. We know that their team's coming, so now we swap to a fresh mag, quickly reload, good to go. Now if I get really good at that, I can go, look how quick I can reload. Get that shit out of here. So I would highly recommend you just practice that, because tactical reloading is huge in this game. It's a very good thing to have, because not only can you keep your mags, but you can reload them whenever you're done, and you can keep inventory of what you have. To turn on the laser or flashlight that you have, simply grip the gun, and in your offhand, click the trigger button, and it has 3 click sequence. So the third click is going to be the one that turns it on. As you can see, you have your laser and your flashlight. If you want to take one off, you can. Now you have your laser. But everybody else can see the flashlight as well as the laser, so just know that, and it can silhouette you pretty easily from across the map. If there's anything you think I missed, let me know in the comments section down below. I tried to streamline this as much as possible, so that way you all could get in and get out with what you needed to know, right? You don't have to know every little nitty-gritty detail to get off the ground running. Sometimes having more information is bad and it can overwhelm us, so just having the bare minimums while having the important information is, in my opinion, what matters. If you found value out of this video, be sure to like, subscribe down below. This is my thumbs up. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you. The Ghost Support community has been the best. And I will see you all in the next one. Thanks so much.